To this day, I have never found a single traditional martial arts master or a great martial arts mind to say that sparring means nothing. People have said, well, Bruce Lee said sparring is like a beach without sand or something like that, right? Well, then why did he do it? Why would he bother doing it? When you look at the facts, actions speak louder than words. Maybe he lost to somebody at sparring and he was bitter. Don't know. But look at the facts here. What are the facts? I've gone through over the facts. I'll put the links in the comments, and I've added some. The same people who came up with martial arts came up with sparring. So it is tantamount to say that martial arts means nothing. The principles of martial arts mean nothing. To say that the principles of sparring mean nothing. It's the same idea. It's how can we put these principles into action? How can we determine based on your body type, your ability to take on people from other body types? When you go to battle, you don't say, well, I'm only going to fight people who are my body type because that's fair. No, this is not about what is fair in the eyes of some sports competitor. Martial arts is about combat, and you need to be able to take on whatever type of person. Someone who's fast, just as fast or faster than you are. Someone who's tall, just as tall or taller than you are. Someone who's strong, just as strong or stronger than you are. And you use the martial art principles to beat them. The type of person who is the best at sparring is the exact type of person you would expect to be the top martial artist, and I would argue that they are. Because they're witty. You will not find some dumb, slow fool to excel at sparring. He will be sharp, perceptive, quick, precise, agile, with a technique that outmaneuvers others or the same technique as others, but better at it. The same form of intelligence more often than not will make him perceptive in life and able to outsmart someone and outmaneuver them to the kill using the weapons around him. So one thing I constantly get from the trolls and the perps, especially these people who train MMA, who train the fighting at the gym, they don't understand that that's not martial arts. That's a sport. That's like saying bodybuilding is the truest form of martial arts competition because it gives the stronger guy the upper hand, and that's what you would expect in a fight. And it's a very ignorant, that is not what martial arts is. Name one traditional martial arts that puts a maximum emphasis on bodybuilding, on strength. You just don't see it. So when you look at martial arts by definition, physical strength in itself, it's just not there. However, there are things that are somewhat close to it, like the Shaolin strongman. Sure. But that's just for entertainment purposes. That's not actually the focus of a martial arts. Now, I work out too, but, I don't do it to get big and strong because that would actually hinder my martial arts ability. Now, listen carefully. It's the same reason the UFC guys don't have a chance against me in actual combat or at sparring. Is the same reason you don't put an emphasis on strength, because it slows you down. When you start having these big, massive arms, this big, massive body, it affects your maneuverability. And maneuverability is 99% of martial arts. If your argument is, well, martial arts aren't effective, so I'm just going to get big and strong, then you're going to say, I'm the top warrior, but I'm not the top martial artist. If you believe that, that's your argument. But as soon as you say martial artist, automatically, you're talking about dexterity. You're talking about agility, precision, maneuverability, transferable skills. Okay, these are martial arts principles. Not being a big, strong fucking oaf. And look at the movies, for example. When you look at The Rock, he might apply some martial arts moves in his movies, but we all know he's not a martial arts actor. Who are the martial arts actors? Steven Seagal. Is his emphasis on strength? No. Jet Li. Is his emphasis on strength? No. who else? Jackie Chan. Is his emphasis on strength? No. Scott Adkins. Is his emphasis on strength? No. Michael J. White, he may have some muscle on him, but is his emphasis on strength? No. His emphasis on technique. Jean-Claude Van Damme, is his emphasis on strength? No. So even in the entertainment world, we come to the unavoidable conclusion that people like Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee and Donnie Yen, their emphasis is not on strength. So why on earth would you take a contest from a term that has never put an emphasis on strength and make the insane argument that it doesn't show who is stronger, who hits harder? Because these things are of little importance. And they automatically come with the territory. The ability to outmaneuver someone will always be more key to martial arts than the ability to strike hard. Because martial arts is about using your head. It's about picking up that bottle, outmaneuver him, smashing him, stabbing his neck 3 times, stabbing his gut, stabbing his fucking under his jaw. Okay? And then kicking him away. And then bashing a chair against his head. These are transferable skills. It's about dodging that knife real quickly. Punching him, poking him in the eye, headbutting him, kneeing him, elbowing him, elbowing him in the throat, side kicking him away. These are martial arts skills. It's not about grabbing them and wrestling them to the ground. This is sports. When you look at karate and other competitions, they'll throw the guy to the ground real quick and they'll do 1 or 2 blows. They won't prolong this kind of takedown situation because this is not martial arts. This is sports. Martial arts are combat arts. And over the years, we've allowed grapplers to attach themselves to the martial arts definition out of the goodness of our heart, not with any intention to change martial arts in favor of the grappler. Because these are traditional combat arts, and when people went into combat, they went into combat with weapons in their hands and sidearms on their waist. Now, over the years, people have branched off into different things, right? Would a Tai Chi guy say, well, I've done the best Tai Chi performance, therefore I'm the top martial artist? No, because that is a direction they went with martial arts that does not show the definition. It is not true to the definition. It's the same reason that grappling is. Grappling is a form of battlefield training that is very limited and does not show transferable skills for actual combat, but rather skills for friendly competitions between villages. Grappling is another branch of martial arts. It's a way they went with it. But it's not true martial arts. So when you look at martial arts by definition, a contest that gives a tall guy the upper hand is it doesn't make a difference what kind of body it gives the upper hand as long as it shows martial arts skills. There are countless examples of shorter guys winning martial art contests with a sparring contest with taller guys, because it is about using your body, knowing yourself, having that perception. And I've gone over this time and time again. The guy that I took on last, who's 6'5", I'm 6'4", didn't score a single point on me. Because being tall doesn't matter. It's about skills that you acquire and being able to apply them masterfully. Why do you think they call it applying it masterfully? Why do you think they call it applying it masterfully? Even in the entertainment world, it's not just the monks and the experts and all the old wise martial artists that see it my way. Even in the entertainment world, you look at the movies. When they're training, look at Bruce Lee when he's training with his master. When any student is training with their master, they have that little scene, right? When he first starts off, the master's just slapping him around saying, no, 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 your guard isn't up, or you're sloppy, and he's just outmaneuvering him, no problem, outmaneuver him, tripping him over. You're not applying it masterfully. You're sloppy. You're not effective with your application. And as they train more and more, they start being less and less, easy to strike. Because that's what the essence of martial arts is. It is that sparring. And that sparring brings you to a point where you become a great martial artist. There's no way around that. It is the most effective, the most traditional, and the most fair. It is by definition how you determine who the top martial artist is. Combat arts. And sparring shows who has the most effective set of combat arts skills. Transferable, translatable, communicable, convertible, and universal skills. Period. Another interesting point is the interpretation of what people take out of context. And I don't know what he was getting at because I don't know where they got this from. But when I hear it, the first thing I thought of was, he said it because it's not actual combat. Where he said it was a beach without sand or whatever. It's going into that realm without actually killing somebody. Without actually knocking someone unconscious. Without disabling them, incapacitating them. Okay? It's like saying, well, target practice is a beach without sand. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't necessarily mean it's not an effective way to show who shoots better. It means that you're not in a wartime situation taking somebody out. It's not actual war. So, I really don't know in what context it was put, but that's the first thing I think of when he said that. Especially when you consider that he sparred. For people to take it as it means nothing, then why bother to do it? Did Bruce Lee dress like a little teacup and say, I'm a little teacup? No, because that was beneath him. So if it was beneath him, he wouldn't have done it. If it was nonsensical, he wouldn't have done it. And certainly his followers wouldn't be posting his sparring videos to show his martial arts excellence. I rest my fucking case. When it's so nonsensical, Can you imagine a guy in jail, right? A guy in prison. He gets out, right? He can bench press 600 pounds. It's huge. And he's like, those little guys who do martial arts, they can't beat me. So I'm the top martial artist. And he goes on TV and says, I'm the top martial artist because I'm huge. And I can beat up any martial artist. You see how ridiculous that is? They say, you don't even do martial arts. You're a big, strong guy. I'm sure you can fucking beat up most martial artists. I do agree with you. But however, the experts like Chukwuemeka would outmaneuver you and fucking kill you if it ever came down to self-defense. If it ever came down to ancient combat, he would outmaneuver your big ass and chop your fucking head off and put it on a stick. So when you see what I'm saying? You can't just say, oh, I'm big and strong and that competition is not fair to me. Because that's not how it works. You may as well be someone on a motorcycle saying, you know what? I can beat that sprinter from point A to point B with my motorcycle. It's like, well, you're not fucking running to do it. It's the same idea, right? That big guy will say, look, I can, if I was a UFC fighter, I'd beat that martial artist because I'm a huge guy. I would take a few of his hits, I would just grab him by the neck and just keep squeezing, and he wouldn't be strong enough to get my arms off his neck. And I just slam him to the ground, just keep choking him. He's probably fucking right. Because in that kind of knucklehead fucking UFC kind of gladiator tournament without weapons, without anything around you, without being able to do a deadly strike, the big, huge knucklehead fuck absolutely has the upper hand. The Gracie brothers probably wouldn't be able to fucking get their arms off their fucking neck. Someone is that massive and strong. I mean, don't get me wrong, there have been times when bodybuilders have been beaten by jiu-jitsu guys at this stuff, but we're not talking about huge bodybuilders. We're talking about guys who could probably bench press maybe 400 pounds or so. Not fucking 600-pound, extremely pissed off. Just kind of a dumpty-dump, white boy fucking bodybuilder. He's just your average kind of college football lineman, if that. Not just huge, just menacing, pissed off, intense monster from prison. So once you truly look at this thing, right, if you can't follow that train of thought to its finish, you're almost certainly wrong. And that's that same train of thought. They say, well, it doesn't show who hits harder or who's stronger. Because it's not supposed to show that. Because those things don't matter on actual ancient combat. It's like brains versus bronze, right? Martial arts is mind over matter. The massive guy is one massive blob of matter. The martial artist is a fucking thinking man. That's why a brain surgeon's son is the top martial artist. I do not think that's a coincidence. Whether it is nature or nurture, I don't think it's a coincidence that these people aren't as smart as I am and they can't outmaneuver me. I do not fucking for 1 second think that that's a coincidence. It was this combination of this African physique mixed with this powerful mind and years of training and refining my technique and training myself with my mind, the top martial artist mind, that made it so no one could top me. And I've said it many times, all cockiness aside. It's like you breeding pit bulls, right? You're like, I'm breeding this pit bull for the pit bull fight. He comes from a long line of intense pit bulls that were very clever when they came. They knew how to get right on the enemy. And I trained him. I conditioned him a certain way. And now he's one mean motherfucker, and it's going to be very hard to find a pit bull to beat him. It's that kind of idea. I was bred for this shit. I was trained for this shit. I trained myself. I'm conditioned. Fucking gifted child. It's so hard to believe that gifted child became the most gifted martial artist. And I rest my fucking case. I was just using an example. Some white people are more intense than others. And some are some dumpty-dump kind of goofy white guys, What I tend to see is if you get this kind of laid-back, goofy, bigger white guy, they tend not to be as good fighters and probably not as perceptive as an angry white guy. In many cases when you're angry, right, you outthink some people if you know how to work with it. Some people become angry and they can't think. And some people become angry and they've stimulated their brain, like stimulating a muscle to work out. They stimulated a brain and they're thinking more effectively. So there's different levels of this stuff. We look at the biology of it, right? There's different levels of it. There's different things you got to understand. I was talking to this one mother and she was talking about how people with brain seizures and autism, they create new neural pathways and it makes them more intelligent. They're using their brain more effectively in some cases when it comes to some activities than other people. And that's why they're able to do these impressive things that most people aren't able to do. They're very good at certain activities, recognizing certain patterns and seeing, mistakes, like in programming code. I believe they use autistic people in programming code, to go over the sheets of code, once they learn how to code. And they say, oh, there's the mistake right there. There's the mistake, and things of that nature. Because on some level, there's some sort of, the stimulation in the brain that's very similar to anger. So these things are very interesting. And I don't claim to understand it. Scientists don't understand it. But there's something like that going on. The difference between me and, the psychiatrists who have their theories about how the brain works is I'm not going to fucking kill 500,000 people, change their DNA, fuck with them epigenetically, cause them permanent cognitive impairment based on my theory. But I will throw my theory out there and say, yes, I do think there's something like this going on. But since I don't have it down to a science, down to a true science, I'm not going to fucking force people to see it my way and force medicate anyone who complains. It's fucking sick. It's sadistic. It's evil.